Okay, welcome to the final session of Chapter 4. And now we're going to talk about learning styles. And the reason why we wanted to interject learning styles at this time is because in addition to multiple intelligence and emotional control, we also have to be self-aware with our learning style. It's really frustrating if you are let's say you're a visual learner and the instructions that you're always receiving happen to be auditory. And so you might be thinking, I can't remember any of this. I'm really frustrated with it. And so what we want you to recognize is that everybody learns differently. And so in order to increase your self-awareness about you and who you are, it's important for you to also understand your learning style. So what you will do over the next few minutes, it won't take long at all to do it, is you're going to put a little check mark in each column that most closely is like how you learn. And now, if you have more than one check mark in each of these columns, that's actually okay too, because there are combination learners. And so don't think that it doesn't apply to you. Now, one of the interesting things is that when people really understand what their learning style is they're able to articulate to other people when they're receiving information. Well, in other words, they'll say, I actually am not really quite getting what you're saying to me. I'm more visual. Could you draw it for me? Could you write it down for me or let me see it on a piece of paper and then I can connect it? I'm highly visual. And I'm also very kinesthetic. And so I need to be either moving or I need to see something for it to make sense to me. And so that's another reason why I work a lot with models, because if I can see how this model interplays, then I can have a much better understanding of how it flows. If I just read a paragraph of information and it has a lot of really big words in it, I'm going to look to see if I can deconstruct that paragraph into a model so that I can understand it better. And so that may be you. And so make sure that you go through this so that you can take in as much information as you can in the method that you learn. And so this is also important for your children. Too often we're hard on our kids and we say, you're not listening to me. Well, I mean, auditory is a learning style. Maybe they're visual. Maybe you need to show them and they'll remember. So you're like, hey, Johnny, you haven't taken out the trash. Maybe you need to take it out with him a couple of times so that he remembers and say, hey, see, when you see the clock and it says 7 o'clock in the morning, guess what you're going to be doing? You're going to be taking out the trash just like we did it just now. And so it's about training. But we can't train ourselves and we can't train other people if we don't understand who we are. And so then you're going to, when you're completed with this, you get to look at this and it will explain to you the different types of learning styles. And if you have a combination of more, I'm all three really, you can actually realize, wow, this makes sense. If I'm a visual learner, I need to do this, or kinesthetic learner, I need to do this, and the same with auditory. Sometimes my daughter and I watch like scary movies, and I know because of my learning style that if I see and hear something at the same time that's kind of like exciting or scary, I'll remember it forever. And so I always stop one of my learning styles when I'm watching something like that. So I'll usually plug my eye, or I say plug my eyes. I'll usually plug my ears, and so if I plug my ears, I won't remember it. And so it doesn't seem to impact me as much. And so these are some things that you want to do in terms of retaining information. So this helps you, if you understand your learning style, will help you to retain information that you've actually learned. And that's hugely important. Okay, now the final thing, which I'm super, 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 super excited about. There's a couple things here. You can take an emotional intelligence quiz online, which is for free. And there's tons of different profiles out there. And so we are not going to teach you the Myers-Briggs. Okay, that's not what this is about. We are going to use it as a tool and a frame of reference for something else that you're going to be so excited that you did. And so we could do DISC, we could do Myers-Briggs. They have colors, they have, animals. I mean, they have all kinds of different personality tests out there. Myers-Briggs, it happens to be my favorite because psychology is my background. And so I want you to take this. It's for free, but here, I want you to listen to me really carefully about this. They've changed it. And it used to just be a simple yes or no. Well, now they have yes, a big yes, and then little yes, little no, little maybe, and that kind of thing. Okay, I want you to be brave. Okay, don't take it with the little yes or the little no or the in-between thing. So I think there's five ways you can answer now. I want you just to do yes or no, the big yes or the big no. And you might say, well, but there's sometimes. Don't do sometimes. It's either yes or no. Okay, and so how we encourage people to take these self-evaluations is through the blink method, which means your person in, okay, like yes, okay, it's the very first thing that comes to your mind. Not, oh, well, wait a minute, now that I've given it some thought, maybe it's a maybe. Okay, don't do that. It's a big yes or it's a big no. And don't take much time when you take it. So just go through it as quickly as you can. And so then what you're going to write down is your letters, and you're going to write down the numbers underneath the letters. And so those numbers are just as important to me as those letters. And again, we are not teaching the Myers-Briggs, so I want that really clear. We're going to use it as a tool to show something about you that you probably haven't thought about in the past, but it's going to be so powerful for you, and it's going to make so much sense to you for yourself and for other people. It's going to be like exploding your brain. And so I'm super excited for the next chapter. We'll do a review of this chapter on some of the things that we talked about, and then you can move on to the introduction for our next chapter. All right, we'll talk to you later.